With me today is Mr. Kelly Forbes. Kelly is the Director of Bilingual Acquisition and Cultural Knowledge at Crooked Oak Public Schools in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Welcome, Kelly. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Great, thank you. Today we are talking about phonics and phonemic awareness. And Kelly has done a fantastic job of capturing some video in the classroom that will show us what phonics and phonemic awareness instruction can look like both at the elementary level and at the secondary level. So thank you for bringing this footage, Kelly. Let's get right to the clips, and then I'll ask you a few questions afterwards so that we can get some insights from you about how we can help teachers
All right, sounds
address
good.
these skills. Super.
All right, but first, where does this story come from? From where?
Africa.
From Africa, yes? And what is a holiday that they celebrate in Africa?
Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa. Everyone say it?
Kwanzaa.
Uh-huh. Now, what's that last question? Do you quarrel during Kwanzaa?
No.
What does that mean, quarrel?
Argue.
To argue and to fight? Is that one of your words? Yeah?
Yes.
That is one of your words, okay? Real quickly, why do you think I have the QU in red and the KW in red? Think about it. Think about it. What do you think?
They sound the same.
Because they sound the same. Can you compare those for me?
Kwa.
Uh-huh, qua, yeah? So the difference is that the QU says qua, but it's spelled with two different letters, Q and U. And then you have the Kwanzaa, and that qua is spelled differently with the what? The K and the W. What's another QU word? Quilt. Or maybe they say, can you please be
Quiet.
quiet, right? Quick. Yeah. And you quit, yes? If you're quick and you're fast, or you quit because you don't want to do it anymore, yeah? Or you're cold, so you put on a what? A quilt. The quilt that we talked about, yeah, you get all wrapped up in the quilt. Right here, this right here, euphoria, I don't know if you can see it very well. The PH is in what color?
Red.
Can you see it? It's in red. Okay? And also here, the PH is in what color?
Red.
Red. Why do you think I made those red?
'Cause silent.
What letter does it start with?
P.
Uh-huh. P what?
H.
Okay, the two letters are PH. And what sound does that make? F. So why not just put F? Well, one, that's not how you spell it, right?
Yeah.
But PH also makes what sound?
F.
The F sound, yeah? So whenever you see PH together and you don't go euphoria, yeah? You would say what? Euphoria, yeah? So you don't get confused, okay? What about this one? You don't say phenomenon. What do you say? What's the word? Phenomenon, yeah? Say it again. Phenomenon. Now the last one, right here, the S and the C, what was that word? You said it. Transcend. So right here, SC means what? Has what sound? The sound, the S sound, yes? If I have a name here, and the name is Scott, how do I spell Scott? C-O-T-T, yeah? Does that have the sound? Is his name Sot or Scott? Scott, yes? But because we have these two letters in the middle right here, they blend together to create which sound? So what's the word? Transcend.
Thanks, Kelly. These clips do a great job of demonstrating effective phonics and phonemic awareness instruction at both levels, elementary and secondary. I have a couple of questions for you. First of all, what can you tell us about the lessons? Can you give us a little bit of background so that teachers who are watching this clip have a good understanding of where you're going with your lesson?
Definitely. You know, I actually went and I spoke to the elementary teacher and the high school teacher so I could get their lesson plans of what they were doing currently in the classroom, just to show the importance of how you can incorporate phonics and phonemic awareness into any lesson. So this actually took me a few days to prepare, talking to the teacher and then doing the lesson myself. While I was in the classroom though, and I was going through the literature that they were using, I actually did run across and see where there were some of those blends or mixtures of letters that were together that could possibly be confused. And so I wanted to be able to show how you can actually take any lesson at all and just find little bits and pieces of phonics and phonemic awareness issues within a lesson and just point those out and demonstrate them to the students. A whole lot of ELL students do get confused easily, which that can also impede their comprehension. And so not to use, as you actually talked about in your lecture, not to use phonics as the source of exactly what you're teaching in that classroom, but just to bring it up to the skin surface level so that way it's apparent and also relevant within the lesson to help that child distinguish between sounds, letters, blends, etc.
Okay, so what you're really doing is looking for teachable moments. You're not stopping to teach phonics instruction. You are teaching phonics as a feature of the content area and the literacy concepts that you're promoting as you work through your plan. Is that right?
Exactly. And we all know that in elementary school, it is obviously easier. Those moments do present themselves more readily, I guess you can say. However, in secondary, whenever I first began teaching in a middle school and a high school, I was one of those, I guess, non-believers, you can say, for lack of a better word, that I wasn't going to actually focus on phonics because we're not tested in it, right? Well, as time went on, that's whenever the comprehension aspect really came true to me. And I know that earlier in the day, you and I were discussing one of my old students who I had from Eritrea, and he spoke the language Kunama. Now, he would always call me Cheecher all the time, and he would write it down, Cheacher. And so he always would say, Cheecher. That's just how he heard it. So I really had to realize and focus on that aspect of, point blank teaching him that this is exactly how you do spell the word and this is how we pronounce the word. So therefore, later on, he can recognize that those words that for him began with a T, he obviously got them confused because of his dialect from where he came from, that he would confuse the T sound in our English language with the CH sound in the language of Kunama. So that relevance really was very obvious to me in that moment.
I'm glad that you brought that up, Kelly, because it really brings home the idea that students are using what they know to make sense of the world that they're living in. And if the world that they're living in requires them to work in a language that is not their own, they will draw from their native language to try and figure things out. So if we can understand something about that language, then we can respond instructionally in ways that are relevant to help promote comprehension in the classroom.
A lot of times also, we have ELO students who will come from their home country already bringing an education with them from that home country, and so they already know the skill of reading, and then it's our job to help them recognize the differences, learning that skill of reading between their home language and English as well. It's different, though, whenever we do have some ELL students who are actually born here in the United States, grow up here, still quote-unquote living in their own world, whether that be Eritrea, Colombia, Mexico, somewhere like that, still continuing their language, but yet not receiving the education in that language. And that's whenever this phonemic awareness issue is even more available in the aspect of promoting the literacy aspect and the comprehension.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that information. I
You're
think that a
more
lot
than-
of teachers will benefit from your insight. What would you like teachers to know about English learners with respect to phonics and phonemic awareness?
Just to know that the idea overall really is not anything elementary. It really does run across all levels within all different schools, whether it be elementary all the way to high school. And just to ensure that especially the older children, yes, may be embarrassed to ask, which is even more reason why we have to go ahead and present it, so that way everybody can be on the same page and we really are not leaving anyone behind.
Excellent. We don't want to make any assumptions. We just want to continue to ask questions and model good questioning behavior with students and for students as we move toward progress.
It's all
with
about
standards-based
promotion,
teaching.
promotion of recognition to go ahead and promote that automaticity that you talked about earlier today.
Okay, great. And one final question. For students who are reluctant to read aloud, what kind of strategies do you like to use to get them to kind of come out of their shell a little bit.
One of the things that's always excited me about working with ELL students are to find out-of-the-box ways of making students feel comfortable, so that way they will read and they will take that time to try to read and be okay with messing up. One thing that not everyone can do, and I understand that, but one thing that I actually was able to do in my old school was have the use of therapy dogs who would come to the classroom, and this would help lower the affective filter, which is basically this barrier that we have inside of ourselves to just let ourselves relax, be a little bit more calm, and be okay with trying, even though we might know that we may mess up. We just feel okay to go ahead and take that risk. And so I just encourage anyone to try to think outside of the box to create opportunities such as therapy dogs or anything else you can possibly think of, just to help them feel at ease, comfortable, and able to practice, so that way they can build that fluency.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.